Welcome back, frenemies. Episode 46. I'm the man in the middle, Chris. To my right, we got the commiss, Sean. And to my left, we have a very, very special guest. We have, so special, we had to kick out Ryan to make room for him. The Dr. Tim James himself is in the house.
Not an MD.
Not an MD.
Gotta put that disclaimer there.
But Tim, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, happy to be
going
here.
in this episode. We got a special shout out to start rolling this episode to our Instagram followers. We've had a lot of great responses on Facebook and Instagram with Start Sits, and we want to give a special shout out to Dave Gifford. Sean, you want to speak out to this because you're the one that just made him win this week.
I had my best call in the Start Sit question. So like he was saying, every week I'm going on Instagram and Facebook, and I also throw it on Twitter. Anybody who's got a Start Sit question, you can just jump in there, and we'll kind of give you our advice as to what we think. And this week he asked me Taylor Gabriel or Marvin Jones. I said Marvin Jones, and that was by far the correct answer. He had 4 touchdowns. I think he had over 40 points. He was balling. So I felt real good about that pick. So
It was great.
he seemed thankful in the comments. So thanks for hitting us up.
Yeah, I watched a lot of that game as a Viking fan, and I was like, what in the world? Marvin Jones is like the one of the few games he actually produces in the year.
So actually, if you watch that game, was Rhodes on him?
Rhodes was on him, and Rhodes looked bad.
Yeah, I think he's starting to fall off the cliff.
Yeah, I mean, it was so bad. You know how players get really mad and start throwing their helmets? Like, he had an Odell Beckham episode coming off on, like, the fourth touchdown.
Third or fourth touchdown. I remember seeing that.
And he was just completely mad at himself.
Yeah.
It was so bad early in the game. Zimmer had to go there and talk to all of his DBs. Like, are we serious? Because even before, Amendola over the cross middle stuff. I mean, right now, if you want to feast on your receivers in a matchup against the Vikings, do so. Until they figure it out, receivers are doing pretty good
Chris
against
might talk about that a little
Minnesota.
bit later, right?
Yeah, we will. Yeah, but let's go to the talk of the town here. All right, the news that matters. Let's talk about Kerryon Johnson. Talking about the Lions, he's going to the IR.
Yeah,
This is
actually, before
disappointing.
we go through the news here, I want to just
never
formal apology. Sorry, last week we weren't on the episode. I know we had some people that were like, "Where are you guys at?"
Yeah, we had some hate mail for that, man. Yeah, some guys like, "Where's here?" I was like, "Oh, wow, they actually care."
Yeah, you made us feel wanted, so that was good for the one or two of you that actually cared that we weren't on last week.
Hi, David.
We had
Carana.
just some scheduling conflicts, couldn't seem to get an episode to go. So thanks for bearing with us. If you stuck around, thanks for sticking around. Back to Kerryon.
Mm-hmm.
That's a sucky blow. He was a darling of mine this offseason. I really was excited about him. I had him in 2 or 3 leagues, and he's done. He's on the IR. So
Yeah, I think the earliest he can come back is week 16, which you wouldn't want to bank on anyways on a championship weekend.
no. I mean, because you're not going to know if you can play him on that week. And
Drop him.
you can drop him unless it's a keeper league.
True.
If you got an IR spot, then maybe you stick him in there. But I think eligibility wise, he's not available to that championship game, so it's not even worth hanging on to him.
I'm going into further off season, but he is definitely a keeper because the way they've been using him, that's why it's hurting us so bad to see him fall into the IR spot.
Well, now that he's gone, it's Ty Johnson, supposedly the next man up. We'll talk about him a little bit later too, but it's probably going to be a little bit of a committee. I don't think it's going to go straight. We've seen with Matt Patricia, it took a year for Kerryon Johnson to really get a hold of that starting job.
Right.
So it'll probably be J.D. McKissick thrown in there with Ty Johnson. But I think this offense is actually a lot better than we thought. So Ty Johnson, I think, is a good play, which I'll talk about later. And then we have David Johnson. He was the other big injury, killed me in a fantasy league where he just went in for that one snap and then must have re-aggravated it or something. They're being real shady about why they even put him in the active for this game. But
That screwed up so many people's fantasy.
It's pretty rude.
I had Chase Edmonds on my bench, so he had 30
You're like
something
one
points.
of like the 5 guys that hit me up over the weekend that like listened to us or my friends, and they're like, I had Chase Edmonds. I'm like, he's on your bench, right? He's like, yes.
It was a tough one. So
Yeah.
And then we had Josh Gordon going to the IR. That was some big news. It just broke in the
Which
last.
apparently he didn't know was happening. He said interesting on his Twitter account.
Yeah. It's like,
I didn't know it was that bad.
nope.
It's an interesting situation. I mean, obviously you watch that game against the Giants. Something happened there.
Yeah.
New England's claiming that he had multiple bone bruises in his knee prior to that game, and that's the reason why he's on IR now. So I'm a throwing up the suspect flag on that. New England's always a little bit funny how they talk about their IR. So
I don't know why they would lie about it, but they just like to.
Whether it was an ankle injury or a knee injury, Joe, irrelevant. But
Yeah.
something is wrong there, and he didn't look right either. So with the signing of Sanu, I mean,
That's
he's
big.
on his way out, and I've
Yeah.
seen reports of him probably being on his way out of New England altogether as he gets healthy and is able to be released. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
So that goes into our trade talk there. The big trade.
Sanu going to New England. You usually don't see that type of a trade happening with the Patriots. And what they've said, they've been trying to get Sanu before the draft.
Yeah.
They like him that much because he's like a true Patriot guy. He does a ton of different things, but he is a great fantasy pickup.
Yep.
And most guys already owned him. And I'm going to the red zone side. So if you're in a traditional league looking for touchdown catches, he might be that replacement because I don't think Gronk's coming back. The other tight ends haven't been there. And I think Sanu helps out a little bit more in the red zone.
He's a bigger body slot
Yeah.
receiver.
The
guy
only
too,
pushback I would have to that is that the Patriots offense is a very difficult one to learn. So I think you have to wait a few weeks until you get full involvement to where he'll actually.
But like
But you should pick him up. I mean, he's probably going to come on later in the season. Yeah.
And it's really weird. I think in one of my leagues, I play in 4, but only one league was he not already rostered. So most guys had him anyways because
Well, he was a wide receiver 3, I think, up until that point anyway. So
Right.
he was always playable. And then everybody was kind of holding out hope that Atlanta's offense would kind of figure it out a little bit more. But one of the things I do want to bring up is that he adds a new element to New England, and that he's a bit of a gimmicky player too.
Yeah, he
so
can throw.
Old high school
He's
quarterback.
got the
yeah.
158 3 passer rating. You know, he's got. I guarantee you by the end of the season, or if not into the playoffs, we'll start to see a little bit of trickery coming out.
I'm
of
sure
Josh McDaniels'
And,
offense.
and his snap count should be very high.
We'll have 2 quarterbacks or 3 quarterbacks on the field now, right? Because Edelman,
Edelman,
was
yep.
used to be a quarterback.
Because he's a big body that it does a great job sealing the end if they move him to the slot for a run game.
He's a great run block receiver.
So that means he'll be in the play
that's-
action game.
I just figured out
He'll
what it
be-
is, guys. You saw that Super Bowl, right? They were like, Tom Brady can't go out to catch passes, so we'll put Mohamed Sanu in, and then Julian Edelman can catch the pass.
They'll do the reverse
we need
that
two.
way.
We need 2 other quarterbacks.
And then another trade there, Emmanuel Sanders going to the 49ers.
Yeah.
This should be getting more pub than it actually is. This helps out Garoppolo a ton. And I think he's a phenomenal pickup to start stretching the offense there in San Francisco.
I think it's going to do a lot for just the whole pass. Like you said, he is a good wide receiver still.
Yeah,
Came
and
back from that injury surprisingly.
Yeah.
And I read something, the 49ers wide receiver 1 was, I think, ranked number 98 or something like that.
was
They
bad.
don't have a receiver number 1, so getting
Yeah.
anything that can kind of help out.
Yeah,
that
Dante
offense.
Pettis last week, who I started for 0 points. So.
Oh, yeah. You actually did start him when I said you said you were going to go the other way?
No,
In MVS?
I went with Pettis. You told me to go to Pettis.
Well, I totally forgot about
me and you agreed on
and you
Pettis,
agreed to
and
it.
then he
I
said
called MVS.
He said
He
MVS.
He called MVS, and then remember in the text
Not a
message,
great game, but he did score.
like an hour or two later.
No, he had a great game. It was just on 2 receptions.
Yeah. I was like, oh, crap. I totally forgot about the
Yeah.
swamp that they played on. I was like,
It would have
why
won
did
me
I
the
do
week
that?
too. I would have beat Jake.
Yeah.
It's too bad.
Oh,
Yeah.
was so bad. Sorry
sad.
about
One
that.
more we didn't really talk about is the impact on Calvin Ridley.
Yep.
Big time. Shoots him up.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of targets, a lot of downfield. There's no competition over the middle now,
Yep.
in my opinion. So I think it's a big uptick for Calvin Ridley too. So
More consistency.
Yes.
So most people own him. But now you can.
I'm just
start
afraid
him.
with the Falcons offense on tanking. Like I have Julio in our league.
A
and
lot of it, see,
that's scaring me that they've traded away Sanu. Matt Ryan's hurt.
Yeah, that's what
They're going to lose some
brought that one
games
up.
here, and I could see this getting real gross real quick.
Yeah. Well, NFL players still play for that paycheck.
Yep.
The quarterback spot is what obviously is going to hurt them.
Yep.
But we'll see.
Schaub wasn't bad in relief though. He went down and scored a touchdown. So
I'll pepper Julio with targets too.
yeah.
Yeah, I can't. Schaub's a great backup. I just can't believe he's
Just the
still
fact
in
that
the
there's
league.
just 2 of them now, it's going to make them both better. They
Yeah.
won't have to worry about that third option.
Right.
So, all right, let's move on to our party question.
Party Q.
Ian, would you like to go to a party in my pants?
No, Brick.
All right, let's go.
All right, our party questions. We're looking at the best movie soundtrack / score, if you want to be technical. I see you guys put that in, especially you.
Well, I say, we have
being the
scores,
film guy. So what is yours? We'll go to the guest here first, or should I go to the guest? Or let me go to Sean.
Okay.
It'll make more here since this is
You're
your
the host,
thing.
you decide.
You said score. Your best movie score or soundtrack. What do you got?
So, mine and Tim's go hand in hand. We both agree the best person to ever, it's not even close,
No, it's not
to
even
write
close.
scores is Hans Zimmer. And I chose Batman Dark Knight. I just remember watching this. I can specifically remember the scene where the Joker's robbing the bank and just the little tick, 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 tick. It just, I don't know, it's just brilliant. All of the stuff he does, it just, any movie that he does, if he's the soundtrack to it, it's instantly going to be a better movie.
It
Like
just becomes that much more intense.
it's crazy that
Yeah.
just his score can elevate the anticipation and the suspense of a movie so well.
It's pure talent. I mean,
Yeah. And the one I chose was the score for Interstellar. I don't know if you've seen that one. It's a pretty epic one.
It's fantastic.
Man, the organ in that movie.
Oh, I got to do a little shout out to push that button. I have a chance to because that's from Inception, Hans Zimmer mind blow. All right, who'd you have, Chris?
I don't know if you have a drop for me, but I picked Guardians of the Galaxy, man. Volume 1 or Volume 2.
Well, somebody had to go the soundtrack.
Yeah,
route,
yeah. I went the soundtrack route. After you watch that movie, there's some like 80s hits that I did not know. I was born in 88, so I didn't really grow up with it. But seeing Chris Pratt dance to the whole thing.
I was going to say, he
pretty
intensified
fun.
that soundtrack.
Yeah, he intensified
for sure.
it. He made it like a legit, I guess it tied in with the comics where he really cared about that cassette, the little Walkman.
Yep.
So that kind of elevated the soundtrack a ton. And I loved it. And everything on that one. So, yeah, that's our party question there. I think they cheated with the Hans Zimmer, but you can't argue with it. It's legit. It's legit here.
I mean, when it comes to movies, he's the
And
best.
to be fair, I had picked Interstellar before I saw anything about Sean's.
Oh, okay.
we
Yeah.
independently we didn't know what each other's were and both picked Hans
That's just how good it is, and I thought of that too as well. But let's go to our fantasy football Tinder. Let's drop it.
Hey, how you doing?
How you doing? All right, so our fantasy football Tinder, guys, we look at the top, outside the top 15 in position groups here, and we're swiping left or swiping right. If we swipe right, we want to start you. We swipe left, you're sitting down.
Yeah, these are those guys you're kind of waffling on. If you got bye weeks, you need to find some replacements. These are the guys that have good matchups, and that's kind of how we approach these.
I got you. So let's go here.
Since we already talked about him, I'll go ahead and kick it off.
Yeah, let's go right here.
My swipe right, so I'm starting Ty Johnson. He is the one that's going to be filling in for Kerryon Johnson. He's on Detroit Lions. They are playing the Giants this week. So I'm saying that if you picked him up off the waiver wire, I think you can put him right into your lineup this week. They're 28th against fantasy running backs. It looks like he's going to get a majority of that workload. Like I said, J.D. McKissick is probably going to get it on third downs. This is a game that I expect the Lions to be winning, so I think it's more towards the Ty Johnson side where they'll be running the ball, trying to run the clock out. So I just think this is one you can put him in. He'll give you that RB2 week when you have a bye week. So if you got Zeke or something and you picked him up, I think you can just put him right in your lineup.
I think moving forward it's going to be game script dependent for Ty Johnson. So this is a positive game script for him.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I guess I'll go straight to my sit here.
Swipe
Swiping left here is on those Buffalo running backs. So last week I was excited about the Buffalo because they played Miami and they actually underperformed quite a bit.
They almost lost until
either Miami got it
fourth quarter.
together a little or they just came off the bye week a little rusty. But Singletary or Gore, I'm not messing with this Philadelphia defense. They are legit when it comes to stopping the run. They're 6th against the fantasy running backs. And I think that we're just going to have to wait that one more week. I think that Singletary is going to eventually start taking over that mantle, but I don't like the matchup so much this week that I would say let him ride the pine a little longer. Keep him on that bench.
Okay, I like that a lot. Tim, what do you got?
So mine's more. So Sony Michel is my swipe right. Obviously, after a 3 touchdown performance, it's not that far of a reach. But I do think he's becoming more permanent into that RB2 slot.
There's some scarred owners out there though. He's had some real bad
Right,
weeks.
that's what I was getting at. It's towards those scarred owners of
Trust
Sony
him.
Michel. I think you can start him now. I think they're
Yeah.
starting to shift away from Brandon Bolden on the goal line. I don't think you're going to have very many Tom Brady 2 rush touchdown games. So I do think Sony Michel. I mean, you've seen how they dink and dunk their way down the field every single time. They seem to have a lot of short yardage on the goal line work, and I think Sony Michel is going to be the beneficiary of that for the most part. And
I think as it gets colder, he's just going to be.
Yep.
They run the ball more with
their defense is so good. They have long possessions. They're going to want to grind it out. Dominate the clock.
And Brady really hasn't looked that great this year. So
No, I mean So he's been kind of like I said, dink and dunk. That's kind of their offense this year. Is how quick can they get the ball out? A lot of times that's 2 sub-seconds. But
Yep.
Sony's going to get the volume. They have a positive game script almost every week, so he's going to have that
He's got
on his
pretty
side
high
too. And I
upside
expect them to
for
be
the
up on the
touchdown.
Browns pretty early. So.
Nice.
Oh yeah. Who you swiping left on?
So I have a couple here. My first one, I'd like to throw this out there, is Chase Edmonds against New Orleans. New Orleans run D is good. All right. And so
Yeah.
regardless, so if DJ sits.
That's the Bears.
So if DJ sits,
Yeah.
David Johnson sits, Chase Edmonds is in a prime role for a high volume position, but even with that high volume, I still don't like him against New Orleans. So he's going to be my swipe left of the week. But I also have a second one, just as a little bonus one. I also don't like the Kansas City Chiefs running backs against Green Bay this week.
Yeah.
I think with
Some
the backup
negative,
quarterback coming in there, and Green Bay is pretty good on D. I mean, I think it's going to be a challenge for them to move the ball. So
A lot of 8-man boxes trying
Yeah.
to say Matt Moore beat us.
Yep.
That's basically what they're saying.
Yeah, that situation is gross between McCoy, Williams. It's we don't know what's
all of
happening.
those running backs.
Pretty repulsive. Okay. All right, so I'm swiping right on David Montgomery. You know why, guys? Because Matt Nagy ain't an idiot. He said that in a press conference, so I'm doubling down on you not being an idiot, Nagy, because we all think you are for the lack of production you're giving Montgomery.
Especially me.
Yes, because remember draft night sitting there, he's looking at the pick. I was like, oh, it's a phenomenal pick.
Oh, everyone praised him for it, but it's been a rough
But
year for
it's
Mr.
not
Montgomery.
Montgomery's fault. It's Nagy. So Nagy's got to prove it. When you put it out there and it's bulletin board material here, you've got to run the ball. And don't give me no Tariq Cohen, even though I own him. I ain't going to start him. Give us Montgomery because we need a new legit running back to
They need
trust
to
in
rework
fantasy.
it. That offense is stagnant. It's
It
just
is.
Well, it just becomes one dimensional when you put Tariq Cohen in on passing situations, so the team knows you're going to pass, and then David Montgomery's coming in for the rush. That's why to me it's better to have that versatile back.
And
I
Montgomery's
think that,
got good hands, so I don't see the benefit of having Cohen out there.
I think that he was also a victim last week. He fumbled, and so they gave him the fumble treatment. He didn't see the ball for a really long time after that. So I think he probably does see an uptick
And Trubisky's not a traditional 3 to 5 step drop QB. He's a gimmick QB that can make it look good. He looks great inside the system.
He's a bad QB.
Remember what we got the little golf stuff that kind of started hurting there a little bit, but McVay makes him look nice and trying to get him. He's trying to get him to be a traditional standalone QB.
Yeah.
It can happen, but I don't trust Trubisky. But it's my swipe left. It's an obvious one. It's Joe Mixon. Name value.
And maybe not obvious. People have spent so much money on him
Yeah.
or so much draft
capital, but now let the name just fade. All right, he's ranked.
Time to let go.
He's ranked in like half PPR, which is what we usually play on. Ranked as high as 27, which is basically a flex spot. I would trust any wide receiver over him.
Yeah.
Because I watched a few of his games or a few of his snaps or drives this weekend in Cincinnati, and they would pan over and show Mixon on the sideline. That's just how unhappy they are with his production. So I would sit him, especially against the Rams. They look like rejuvenated with Jalen Ramsey in the defensive backfield. That front seven is great. Let's talk about this. Aaron Donald lifting up Freeman like a rag doll.
he's a freak.
I don't know what got into Freeman's head to decide he wanted to throw a punch at Aaron Donald.
I think of all the people you could choose to not fight,
Exactly.
And one of the smallest people on a football field is Devonta Freeman.
I think I would have chosen pretty much the rest of each team's rosters that I'd
Right.
rather have fought than did.
Yeah.
Well, shout out to the fantasy footballers, the FF Hitman Mike Wright. I was listening to him, and he brought it up. He's like, that little lift is the reason why you do curls in the gym. Just how easy. He's like, I don't care how small it was. You lifted a grown man. I was busting out laughing. I was like, you're right. You lifted a
That's
grown man.
why he was so
up.
angry. He belittled him.
Anyways, I just wanted to throw that in there. So Joe Mixon, don't pick on AD there in the middle. But that's my sit for the week here. Let's go on to the wide receiver position. Sean, who do you got?
All right, so I guess we'll kind of test your theory here. You're going to sit. You said you were going to sit Joe Mixon. Would you sit him over my start, which is John Brown? If you had the choice between John Brown and Joe Mixon, who would you be putting in your flex?
Oh, I'd be starting John Brown because Philly's defensive backs
Yeah.
are like second, third stringers.
So that's my start this week. I'm going to start that. It's funny because I have a sit against this Philly defense because their run defense is so good. But conversely, their passing offense has been awful.
Passing defense, yeah.
Yeah, passing defense has just been awful against wide receivers. They're last in the league. That's bad as it gets, last. And I think that he's kind of been on the bench for you. Like I have him in a couple leagues, and I haven't really felt the confidence to start him yet. But I think it's time to graduate him to that flex spot or even a wide receiver too if you have a bye week. He's getting the consistent targets. Josh Allen, he's Josh Allen's number one read. it's kind of a little biased because he had such a rough stretch there with his injuries and everybody got hyped up on him. And then, so I think he's kind of one of those post-hype sleepers to where you need to buy back into. John
He's got
Brown's
a big boom percentage too.
yeah, he's
does.
just a good wide receiver. And we got to, just because it's Josh Allen throwing him the football, if he's the only guy getting the ball, then, I mean, he's going to be great
And,
to
and
start.
Philly gets into that run defense so much. Again, I'm watching it when Stephon Diggs went off on there against Philly. It was a lot of single coverage on him.
Yep.
And you're single covering young DBs. DBs, unless you're legit, they can't cover for more than 4 or 5 seconds. You get a move on a DB, even in the NFL, you're going to have a little bit of separation. So there's going to be a lot of chances with a fast guy like John Brown.
All right, and then on the other side of the ball, I'm going to swipe left and I'm going to sit Alshon Jeffrey.
Yeah, this is your boy.
Yeah, this comes personal here because I've had him as he's been pretty steady for you. You've been able to put him in. He's actually surprised me this year with the consistency he's had. I thought he'd be a little more boom bust, but I think with Deshaun Jackson out, he's been able to stabilize that. But he's going against the Bills, and their pass defense is really good. So you got a 7th ranked pass defense. And I'm afraid that the targets are going to start dwindling. They're starting to get Dallas Goedert more involved. Last week, I think he saved his week a little bit, but it wasn't such a great week. But I'm saying this week with this bad matchup, I would find a way to find another option. It's not that you can't start him. I mean, if there's situations where if you have bye weeks and you need to play him, I think he'll get you 4 or 5 catches, so he'll give you that nice baseline. But I don't think there's going to be a ton of points in this game, and I want to stay away from Jeffrey if I can this week.
Okay. I like that one.
I'm going to sit him in my league.
All right. Doctor, not MD.
Not
what's
MD.
What's your choice there?
So Ryan's gonna like this one.
Okay.
I traded away DK Metcalf earlier in the year. They're lining up against the Falcons. I do like him in this spot here. The Falcons' pass D is not terrific. I think the run. So this is kind of a multi-layered effect. I do think Chris Carson's going to have a big day as well. But I think that opens up the play action pass, and I think DK is really going to benefit from that. He's seeing the targets. He was a victim of
that costly fumble.
Man, that fumble
Sunday.
really hurt him.
Oh, hurt the team and him. Yeah.
But I think he'll have a nice little bounce back game. I don't think anything huge, but I do think he'll put up a solid stat line for you. 5, 6, 7 catches for 80 yards or so, and you'll be lucky if he gets into the end zone. But I think that's more than you can hope for somebody at his level right now. So, but my sit of the weeks, I like to do teams as a whole. It's kind of
Sometimes it just applies to
It's just
everyone.
easier. Yeah.
so for my sets of the week this week are any Carolina receiver against that 49ers D. Richard Sherman's still not a joke, man. He is shutting people down left and right. He's got one of the lowest completion percentage against him as any cornerback in the league right now.
Yep.
That 49ers front 7 is getting penetration. They're going to make it a rough day for
Kyle Allen.
So
That's my
I don't see Carolina receivers putting up good points this week.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot because of that front 4.
Yep.
And against a rookie QB, that's going to be tough.
Yep.
Or is he a rookie? No, he's a second-year guy. But for
He's just
backup
Regardless,
QB.
that front 4
Yeah.
with Nick
Very
Bosa
inexperienced.
and the guy they got from the Seahawks, I'm blanking, D Ford.
Yeah,
Ford.
and then
They-
they drafted Bosa. I mean, they've
They had
got a lot of
Forrest
firepower.
Buckner up front. They have a lot of guys.
They've been
there.
drafting in high rounds for a couple years.
John
now,
Lynch
so.
has been doing well building the team out there.
And Kyle Allen's been doing a great job for Carolina, beating the teams they should beat. But this is going to be a rough one.
Yeah, I mean, we got to
ride
start
for 'em.
believing in this 49ers because
Which is good for me because I'm playing against Joe this week, who is a homer for the
there you
Carolina
go.
Panthers. So,
Oh, you're not willing to put your sit as Christian McCaffrey?
Ooh.
I don't think anybody in the world is willing to do that. I do think CMC will still get his.
he
I
just-
don't think it'll be in the run game. I think there'll be a lot of quick screens and
He is their offense, so
yeah.
they'll find a way to get something through him.
My prayer to the fantasy football gods, there's none. But my prayer in the luck of the draw when it comes to draft order is to be high enough to get Christian McCaffrey one day.
I know that's what
just-
I was in 4 different leagues this year, and if you watched any of the podcasts earlier in the season, when I was pre-draft, I was all about Christian McCaffrey. I think he was the number 1 option when you're drafting, and the highest I got was like 4th overall in my drafts, and I didn't get him anywhere, and it just
I had, like-
sucks. I have to watch him on all these other teams being amazing.
I was like 2 or 3. I was like, everyone's going to get the Saquon stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
Christian. I was like, dang it. Everyone else is knowing this.
I just wanted 2 because most people were taking Saquon, and then I could have snaked
Yeah.
them right there at 2. But
All right, so I'm swiping right here on Juju versus Miami. It's the Dolphins. Thank you.
hey, did you see last week? We looked.
Oh, I think
Not
I don't know what the Bills were
extremely
definitely
terrible.
overlooking that one. That was a ugly. I was over at with some guys watching the game.
I actually
There
had
was
some hope. Like,
Yeah,
we were winning in the end of the third quarter.
there was a Dolphins fan watching the game with us while we're watching the Red Zone and all these others, and he was like actively cheering against it. He's like, "Dolphins, what are you doing?" And he's like, "Bills, come on," because he kind of like picked him against, one of those
Survivor pools?
Survivor pools.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "I want the first pick. Why in the world why are we screwing this up?" Bills
It's going to be
score
a
points.
serious toilet bowl week 16. Those
Yeah.
Bengals line up against the Dolphins.
gonna
It's
be
very
bad.
possible both of those teams
I'm gonna watch
go
it
into
for
that game without winning.
comical.
This has nothing to
reasons.
do with fantasy, but I just wanted to mention it because I think it'll be interesting to see how much the Dolphins are trying to tank because they play the Steelers this week and we have their first round pick. So this is the first time we're incentivized to actually
Ooh,
win a game
you're right.
because we would make our pick better by winning. So
Well, it's a lose-lose for them. You win. Your first round pick, goes up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And Steelers goes down.
Dude, that's what it does.
I see it as a win-win. We have lost 7 games. We're pretty secured in that number. I mean, I guess the Bengals are our opposition.
Yeah, Bengals
but-
don't know how to win either.
Skins
But
aren't doing too hot.
Yeah,
either,
Skins.
but
so
They got the tiebreaker over us since we let them win that game.
hopefully we'll
Going
beat
for
them on
2.
Thursday.
win.
So Juju, he's kind of ranked at wide receiver 20 right now because who knows how the QB spot is there. But I think he should easily produce wide receiver 2 numbers as a baseline. Bottom line there, safe pick against Miami. And then I'm throwing out another big name there. I'm swiping left, Odell Beckham, sit him against New England.
They just shut down the primary option so well.
Gilmore's so good there with
He's
the
unbelievable.
Patriots. I mean, come on, guys. The Patriots D made Sam Darnold see ghost. Like the man
going on with
legit said, I was seeing ghost out there.
If only it was a week later and we were true in
I
Halloween.
know,
spirit.
right?
That's
That
so
would have
good,
been
but-
the memes will start coming around with him. But it's so funny. I mean, yeah, usually quarterback comes off the field and like the first thing QB coach does is put him on the headset and they say, "Hey, what are you seeing?" Can you imagine being the OC or the head coach? It's like, "Sam, what are you seeing?" He's like, "I'm seeing ghosts, man." He's like, "What?" Like
He
you wouldn't
didn't
know what
have
to say.
mono. Maybe he's still experiencing some symptoms.
They're pretty salty about ESPN airing that. Both the Jets and I think NFL fans were pretty upset that they
Yeah.
because you can imagine any quarterback coming off the field is gonna
Have some
express
things to
some
say that
things
you
to
don't
say.
want.
Yeah,
He probably doesn't truly mean it, but he was just saying like that's how good Patriots defense were.
Yep.
And you got to think about it. Baker doesn't get more than like 2 seconds to throw the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see this going well for Cleveland.
So that was pretty obvious pick there for me. But again, a big name that you're still going to keep in your lineup, but I would suggest to sit.
Now, we probably don't have a bet here, but
Ooh.
just in case we do,
Okay.
just because I'm feeling feisty about my
I already have to wear a
my
costume
Miami
next
Dolphins.
week.
Yeah, we'll tell you a little bit about that at the end of the episode. But so I think I heard you say though he's more of a baseline play, Juju. You're not looking for upside this week. Like, do you think he will be? I don't know where I would put the line at a top 16 wide receiver this week.
I believe you. I think he can creep into a
So
high end.
my
wide
caveat
receiver
would
too.
be it's all on if Xavier Howard's going to play.
Well, and
Because
that,
he has not been playing for the Dolphins, and if he's back this week, and like I said, they have some incentive to try to win this game, I think that Juju could actually be not a great play
I'm
this
talking
week.
to the Steelers fan.
So that's
here.
my little got to hit our
fight here. Well, I'm
going
gonna go to my
maybe
corner
you shouldn't start.
before I started here. But who's playing QB?
So Mason Rudolph should be back.
Okay, so
he
I'm
was-
willing
he
to fight now.
He was technically ready to play against the Chargers.
Right.
Obviously, with all the bad press that they got with that hit and whatnot, they weren't going
Right.
to put him in there, and they had a bye week right after that game. So I think they made the right call, giving him an extra 2 weeks to recover. But yeah, Mason will be lining up for Steelers from everything.
Yeah.
I've
So this
seen.
one's gonna hurt like doubly because I'm a Dolphins fan. When Juju scores 4 touchdowns on us, I'm gonna just feel so bad. But are you willing to make a top 16 bet? So if he's 16, we'll put the line at 16 or less. So we'll do 15. So if he's 15 or higher, then you win it. If he's 16 or lower, then I win it.
Let's do it.
All right, so we'll block that in.
Duking it
Get us-
out. Oh,
Get us some
man.
comments in the YouTube on what you
Oh,
think the bet should
the
be.
way
for.
this stuff's going, man, I'm going to get tattoos in wrong places. How this bets
I
are
know
starting to fly.
they're,
We're
they're
gonna-
pretty hardcore about it.
I know. Some of
but-
the comments like, geez Louise.
All right, well, let's go to our turntable segment.
Such a great show.
Well, well, well. How the turntables.
All right, so our turntable session, we're basically looking at players who are about to buck the trend, be here for better or for worse here. And Sean, we're going to go to you. Who do you see in turning the tables here?
Yeah, so this episode is all about my waiver wire pickup. So I spent up on Ty Johnson and I spent up on Kenny Stills. So Kenny Stills is kind of that person that might have snuck by if you weren't, he's been on the Texans. He got traded but from the Dolphins early in, I think it was like preseason.
He's been battling injuries.
Yeah, he's
since
been battling
there.
some injuries. He played last week, and when Will Fuller went out, he took basically that role completely over. And this is going beyond just this week. I think that Kenny Stills is going to be a good, if things go well, he can be a solid wide receiver too for you. Like basically whatever you thought Will Fuller could be for you, I think Kenny Stills has enough of a skill set to do whatever Will Fuller would have done in this offense, which is when you have Deshaun Watson and you have this passing offense that we've seen go off week to week. I just think that he's that deep threat. He can give you that boom week where he's not going to get a 45-point week like Mr. Will Fuller had, but I think that he can give you that 20-plus point week when he just hits a bomb.
Now, as the resident Miami Dolphin fan, with all the glory that brings, when Will Fuller was a one-trick pony.
Correct.
He's a deep ball guy with his blazing speed. Kenny Stills, I think he's a little more well-rounded than.
Yeah, I would
Fuller.
agree. I think he's a little bit more of a full wide receiver. He has the full route tree at his disposal,
which is great for us. I think that's more positive.
I mean, we
to what
saw
you're saying.
he was only 1 week in the system, and he blew up in that first week. I forget who they played, but he just had like 3 amazing plays at the end of the game to really win them that game. And he's a talented wide receiver. He's been stuck in Miami, which has not really shown his skill set. But when he was in New Orleans, he was fantastic with Drew Brees, and I think you're going to get a similar performance from Deshaun Watson now. To where he's just going to be a good starting wide receiver for you now. I spent 43 fab on him.
43 fab.
Next bet was 15, so it doesn't feel so great, but
No.
could have saved some money.
All right, Dr. James, no MD. What's your pick?
Yeah, sorry. So I'm looking at my pick here, and I feel kind of bad. I mean, so Austin Eckler, he has been a top 5 back, over the first.
I think he is currently a top 5 back right now. So,
So my turntable's for the negative, and I don't see this backfield situation benefiting anybody in the future. Melvin Gordon's going to take the bulk of the carries. Austin Eckler is going to take the bulk of the pass work. Melvin Gordon was a great pass catching back, so he really loses that on that just because Eckler was so productive in that role. I think moving forward, Eckler still has the better baseline stats. I think that because of his role as a pass catcher, he's going to be the better of the two. But if you're relying on him for being an RB1 moving forward, I just don't think you have that anymore.
Yeah.
I think you're kind of back end RB2 with Melvin Gordon in the flex, and that hurts. I mean, you drafted these guys to be at high production. I think it kind of cuts them both in half, and you really get a negative out of both. So
I like that. I'm going to stay with the Chargers. And
I think this one's cheating. But go
it's
ahead.
cheating, but it's like an easy forced table turning.
I was gonna say his table. I feel like turned a while ago.
It's Hunter Henry. All right, he's caught 14 of his 17 targets since coming back 2 weeks ago. And with all the injuries with the Chargers receivers, like Mike Williams, every time he gets hit, it's like 10 seconds to get up. Yeah, I mean, Keenan Allen, Hunter Henry will be feasting. Obviously, you can tell Phillip Rivers must be telling the draft guys, his scouts saying, I want tall receivers plus tall receivers plus tall receivers. Because he loves throwing at big targets, and Henry's proven it. So you're getting a tight end position, scoring a wide receiver 2 spot. And that to me is just going to be positive all the way through because I think, Henry gets hurt a lot. But if he stays in there, he's nothing but upside for Hunter Henry owners. And the tight end position is really bad this year.
Yeah, I mean,
no depth.
I would just to kind of test you and let the people know where you're at here. With Hunter Henry, would you say rest of season he's like a top 5 guy? Like that's how much faith you would have in him as in the tight end position of top 5?
Top 3.
Top 3. Okay,
I'm putting it even higher.
Some serious.
Just because look at the production he's had just now and the amount of targets.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, there's a track record.
8 targets,
we know one thing:
9
it's
targets,
that Phillip Rivers loves to throw to his tight end. So I don't think that's going to go away.
So just bringing up another question, and this affects me personally because I'm a Kelsey owner. So our original big 3 at tight end were Kelsey, Ertz, and Kittle. I think it's safe to say they've underperformed this year.
Yeah, all of them have.
Do any 3 of them finish as a top 5 tight end this year?
I think you're going to see Hooper.
Top 5? I feel like top 5 they have a pretty good shot at.
Yeah, I think Ertz falls down a
So
little.
who doesn't finish top 5?
I say Ertz.
I think Ertz.
Ertz is who I'm most scared about. I
He's
think
got the
that
direct competition there with Dallas Goddard.
Goddard is coming on, and I just think that all Ertz was all targets. Like that's what was kept his production so high. He had a ridiculous target count last year, and if he's not going to get all the tight end targets, it's going to bring his production down. You've already seen it. He's been bad. I think who has him in our league? Does Morgan have him?
Morgan, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you could go ask him, and he'll tell you it's been rough. I think he's still in the top 10 just because he's putting up points every week, but he hasn't had any big weeks. It's just I think he only has 1 touchdown on the whole season.
Right.
What's the deal with the other two with Kelsey not producing? What do you see there?
I think Kelsey, he's having a case with the drops a little bit, being a target, but he's still, right now, I think the best thing for him is Matt Moore. Because he's going to be the
you think
safety
he'll improve
blanket.
even with-
He's
Okay.
going to he's the safety blanket over the middle for Matt Moore right now.
To be fair to Kelsey, he's still
He's still producing like
still
crazy.
producing. He's getting
Yeah.
the yards. He's just
Yeah.
not putting up the points he did last year, and not a second round value where he was
And then
drafted.
Tyreek Hill returning
Opens things up.
opens stuff up there for him. So I think we're going to see the Kelsey that we all love.
I think overall these guys
rest
are
of
going
the
to
year.
kind of come back to their glory. Like Kittle is kind of a similar situation. He's had some rough weeks. The Sanders thing does scare me a little bit. I'm a Kittle owner, and if they start throwing to the wide receiver a bit more, but I think it just makes the offense better.
It opens things up for
And
everybody.
exactly, there's been no one taking anything off the top, whereas that was a big part of Kittle's game was getting those over the middle big shots, and they're just crowding that middle right now because he's the only target in town. And so with having Sanders in there, this offense, I mean, Kyle Shanahan is a genius when it comes to offense, so I think he'll get it working. He had, I think week 1, he had 3 touchdowns called back or something. And 1 was out of bounds, 2 penalties to where he would have had touchdowns. It just, the breaks haven't fallen right for him. I think he's going to end up being in that top 5.
and the true tight end 1. Nobody ever thought it would happen, but Darren Waller,
I would agree. I think
he's going to be tight end 1.
I think he might be tight end 1. I don't know if I can disagree with that.
Nope, that'll save Joe this season.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! I have him in some other leagues. I was trying to get him in ours.
I picked him up in 2 leagues, and I was upset because I had the choice between Mark Andrews and Darren Waller because in both leagues he was available, and I kept flip-flopping, and I ended up going with Waller, and after 2 weeks, it looked bad.
Yep.
Waller was good, but Mark Andrews was on fire, and I was like, oh, crap, but I'm feeling good about it now.
Oh,
Darren Waller
he's doing great. Ex-wide
he's
receiver
safe.
as well. He's got skill.
Yeah,
And he just
He
added
was a
on.
basketball player too, wasn't he?
I think
Yeah, well, he was at Georgia Tech, which is
irrelevant,
weird. I mean, Calvin Johnson came out of there, but he might have been. I don't think he was in college. But yeah, great story too. But I think he's going to be our tight end 1 there.
All right, well, that's all we got for you guys. I wanted to mention that the bet that we had, me and Chris had a bet. I don't even remember. What was this bet for? Who was the player that we were betting on?
Was it
Wasn't
Kansas
the Kansas
receivers?
City?
No, it wasn't
I
Kansas
won
City
that
Receivers.
one.
I lost that one.
You lost that one.
This is great entertainment for the public when we can't remember who the heck it was for. Well, anyways, if we think of it, I'll let
Was
you
it
know.
Golden Tate? I don't know. I can't remember.
So what our punishment ended up being was that he has to wear a costume next week.
Yep.
We're on Wednesday night is the day before Halloween, so we'll do a costume. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get on this. So by this weekend, I'll have up on our social medias some polls for you guys to vote as to what the costume he'll wear. We'll get his approval because he is a teacher at a Christian school, so we'll need to make sure that can
Nothing too crazy, guys. Thank you.
be shown on the YouTube airwaves.
My daughter would vote for a princess.
Princess,
Yes.
okay.
There we go.
Maybe that'll be an addition into
That'll
there.
be yeah.
So that's tamer than we were thinking cheerleader, but that might be a little
Yeah,
too risque.
sounds like that'd be a little too much there.
Pretty princess.
Pretty princess, yeah.
All right, well, thanks for
the
listening,
wig.
guys. That's all we have for you. If you can just like and subscribe, we ask you please. We're trying to grow this fan base. If you listen to us, hit that subscribe button every single week. You're going to get this episode. Anything else for us, Chris?
Yeah, tell more than your grandma. Tell your grandma's friends.
We're asking
to
for
start
more now. I know
following
it's been
us.
just the grandma we've been concerned about, but we're now concerned about grandpa, cousin, aunt, anybody.
Yeah, but we want to thank the doctor, not MD, Tim James, coming in. I loved it, man. And hope we get him back here soon.
Yeah.
All right. Bring you
See
back
if we
in
can maybe
studio.
get this a few more times in this season. So. All
right.
right. See you guys.
Deuces.